photographers. Many reviewers were very quick to decide that they did not like the Nikon Z50. I realize that loud negative headlines get clicked, so I thank you for watching my detailed hands-on review. Now, sometimes it's fun to pretend that this is the only camera, and not to consider either its legacy or its competition, and just to show you what it can do and how it works, and then you can make up your own mind. What camera reviewers see as the competition are not always factors for you. This is an interchangeable lens DX format mirrorless camera, an APS-C sized sensor. Nikon Z6 and Z7 mirrorless models are full frame, or FX. Its maximum resolution is 20 megapixels, and it does not have an optical low-pass filter. It's interesting to consider that this camera could be most appealing to those posting to Instagram or YouTube with content created on their phone who might appreciate this step up in quality and capability. It is a long review. It's posted in 2 parts. There's a menu in the description below to navigate to the sections of interest to you. The design is black and utilitarian. The front grip is deep, and there's a small thumb rest on the back. Nikon indicates it is weather sealed. And it's small. The camera weighs 450 grams. The kit lens adds 135 grams. And all the controls, except the monitor mode key, can be managed with my right hand. The on-off shutter combo is tilted forward to meet my finger. There's a control dial underneath and another at the back. That's my preferred configuration. Video record, ISO, and exposure compensation keys surround the shutter button. The mode dial and stills video switch complete the top panel. Down the right side, exposure and focus lock, the navigation and menu controls, 4 keys, and 3 more embedded in the display. These can't be customized. There are 2 custom keys to the right of the lens. On the right side of the viewfinder, a +3 to -3 diopter adjustment dial. On the left side, a flash release with a guide number of 7/22. There's also a standard flash shoe. The centered over the lens electronic viewfinder is a 2360K OLED screen. It switches on automatically when your eye approaches, and it feels bright and detailed and shows the image you're about to take with all the settings except the depth of field. That's one of the options that can be assigned to a function button. As the screen usually has the aperture wide open, pressing preview shows me the actual depth of field. And there's the advantage of the mirrorless viewfinder. You can access the menu to change settings. The touch-sensitive LCD monitor has a 1040K resolution. It tilts up for low-angle shooting and then pulls out, back, and all the way down to face forward for selfies and vlogging. On the left side, behind one weather-sealed door, a mic in port for your on-camera shotgun. Behind door number 2, micro USB and micro HDMI. The battery and SD card slot is on the bottom. The SDXC UHS-1 type is supported, and the new EL25 battery is rated for about 300 shots, about average. A charger is included, a luxury at this price level. The tripod socket leaves lots of space for a quick release plate, but not when the monitors flip down, making it awkward to attach even the smallest selfie stick, which majorly blocks the view. Before shooting, let's review a few settings. By default, Nikon does not enable the best quality options. Image quality is normal but could be fine, and I also enable RAW format, 14-bit. Area can be set to square or HDTV aspect. That also applies to video. In HD, you can up the quality from normal to high, and from HD to 4K 30. For video, I also enable the in-body electronic stabilization, unless I'm using a tripod. For stills, only optical stabilization is available. The 16-50 3x zoom lens included in this kit is one of 2 new DX format lenses. It's a nice compact format and must be manually extended before shooting. The zoom action, which is less than a quarter turn, includes some retrograde movement. The aperture opens to f3.5 and ramps to f6.3 as you zoom in. There's an unmarked manual focus ring. Using the menu, it can be changed to set the aperture instead. That provides a simple and quiet way to change aperture in video mode. Exposure compensation and ISO are also available, providing more options than most. Note that manual focus always takes priority over this setting. It is an optically stabilized lens. Use the menu to disable there's no switch on the lens. The closest focus distance ramps from 20 to 30 centimeters, and the filter diameter is 46 millimeters. Nikon also introduced a DX format 50 to 250 millimeter lens for this camera. I'm planning to do a full Z lens roundup soon. The Z50 makes it easy to shoot in manual exposure, with the front dial set the aperture and the back dial for the shutter. Of course, if you'd prefer the other way around, use the F4 custom control to change the main and sub controls. Or use reverse rotation if that's more logical for you. The 16 to 50 closes to f22, f40 when zoomed in. Shutter speed from 1/4000 to 30 seconds, then bulb, which keeps the shutter open while the button is pressed, and time, which opens when the button is pressed and closes when pressed again. Both of these are available as on-screen touch controls. As is ISO, but it is not quite so straightforward, particularly when AutoISO is on. It must be disabled in the menu, where you can also select the maximum ISO and minimum shutter speed. I really was looking for a simpler way to turn AutoISO on and off. ISO settings from 100 to 51,200 can be selected, as well as extended settings labeled High 1 and 2. As I increase the ISO from 3200 to 25,600, the details in the image remain sharp and clear with no color noise in dark areas. At 51,200, the skaters aren't as well defined, and definition continues to decrease at 102.4 and 204.8, at which point color noise starts to be more apparent too. After you've decided the highest ISO you can tolerate, set that parameter in the AutoISO. And now that all three exposure settings are manually set, the meter displayed screen right shows the exposure. Press the I key to select a meter mode, the usual, and highlight metering. For a histogram, press DISP until it appears. Sadly, it disappears while you're making an exposure adjustment. There's also a level in the DISP carousel. In aperture and shutter priority, the assigned dials have the same function as manual mode. For exposure compensation, press the EV key and turn either dial. In program mode, the rear dial provides other aperture-shutter combinations, which also provide a proper exposure. The green auto setting, point-and-shoot mode, turns on AutoISO and inhibits other settings like meter selection. Back in aperture priority, the picture control is available to select from the 7 presets. Each of these color profiles can be fine-tuned with more options and a wider adjustment range than other brands, as well as an auto setting. Then there are 20 filter effects like those you find on a phone. These also have settings including fine-tuning the amount of the effect. These effects are applied to the JPEG image but not the RAW file, so if you've made a mistake, you always have the original. And with the RAW file, it's also possible in playback to add any of the color profiles to an image afterwards. If your tastes or needs for filter effects are not yet satisfied, spin the dial to F and use the back dial to select. Some of these are the usual Nikon suspects. So all of these settings, even the effects, can be recorded as video. The issue is that some will have very low frame rates. The active D-lighting, 4 settings as well as off and auto, are used to extend the dynamic range of a scene. And then there's the high dynamic range setting, which provides an alternate solution as long as RAW is not enabled. It combines multiple exposures into a single image. Options here select to use it for a single image or to turn it on for multiple images. The dynamic range can be set to auto or up to 3 stops. and 2 images taken for this feature can be saved as individual RAW files. Now I'm really having trouble making sense of this. Turn RAW off, enable HDR, turn RAW on for the HDR function, then when you're done, turn HDR off so you can turn RAW on again. Really? There's a button on the left side of the screen to turn on tap and snap, or just touch focus. Focus is speedy and confident, and the focus area covers nearly the entire screen. Use the I menu to change focus modes. In addition to auto, which switches from single to continuous when movement is detected, single, continuous, and manual. And in addition to auto area, which covers the whole screen, wide area L provides a large rectangle, wide area S a smaller square. Points can be selected with touch or by using the control wheel as a cursor. Then soft press the shutter to focus. Dynamic area expands if the subject moves slightly outside the small square. A single point doesn't expand. In manual focus, the bottom left has a focus direction indicator, but the rectangle also changes to green if the subject under the rectangle is in focus. There's an on-screen distance guide. Press the Magnify Plus to expand the view, 3 levels of magnification. Press Magnify Minus to zoom out again. I find the focus point useful, but if you don't, custom setting A6 turns it off. D9 turns peaking on with 3 levels and 4 colors, and that shows the edges of an object in focus. For back focus, use F2 and assign the AEL-AFL key to AF on. Then use A4 to disable the shutter focus interlock. The AF on does not work in manual mode. Use A2 to turn face detect on or off. Anne will help us demonstrate, and even from defocus, Anne's face and eyes are quickly detected. Switch eyes using the control wheel. Now even in profile, face and eye detect hold on, and stays with Anne as her focus distance changes. Now, there's no eye detect in video, but face detect works well. Please click to continue to the second part, which includes drive modes including burst, video, and playback features.